Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on the most notorious residents of Pelican Town. Today we are going to embark on a rigorous academic journey through the social hierarchy of Stardew Valley. We are not here to discuss who has the best hair or who gives the most efficient gifts. We are here to analyze the psychological warfare and egregious behavior that makes certain neighbors absolutely unbearable to the average farmer. This is a comprehensive study of character flaws, technical oversights, and the general audacity of the local population. Please keep your questions until the end of the lecture. Though I suspect by the time we reach the final slide, your internal rage will speak for itself. Haley, the quintessential mean girl. We begin our analysis with Haley, a character who treats your arrival in the valley as a personal affront to her aesthetic sensibilities. From a technical standpoint, Haley is the ultimate gatekeeper of social acceptance. Her early game dialogue is legendary for its bluntness. She will look you in the eye and inform you that your clothes are horrendous or simply ignore you entirely while she searches for her misplaced dignity. This behavior stems from a place of immense privilege. Her parents are perpetually traveling the world, leaving her and her sister Emily in a house they barely maintain. The community's friction with Haley is often temporary, however, because she possesses what we academics call a redemption arc. In her two-heart event, she argues with Emily over the mundane task of cleaning under the cushions, a conflict she handles with the grace of a toddler. But as you progress, she begins to appreciate the rustic charm of the valley. By 14 hearts, she is organizing charity events for the local children. Most players find that their initial hatred for her evaporates once they realize she is simply a bored girl in a small town. Though being told your face is dirty on day one still feels like a psychological strike that is hard to forget. Next, we must address Alex, a man whose personality is 90% gridball and 10% hair wax. Alex is the male counterpart to Haley's early game hostility. His primary offense is a staggering level of arrogance that he wears like a cheap cologne. For female players, his behavior is particularly egregious. He will suggest that he would ask you to play catch if only you weren't a girl. This level of casual sexism makes many players want to toss their watering cans directly at his head. However, we must apply some academic nuance to his situation. Alex lives with his grandparents, George and Evelyn, following a childhood defined by an abusive, alcoholic father and the tragic passing of his mother. His obsession with becoming a professional athlete is not just vanity, it is a defense mechanism. He admits to never having read a single book in his bookcase because he is terrified of his own intellectual shortcomings. While his constant bragging about his strength is oppressive to listen to, his 8-heart event at the beach reveals a vulnerable, grieving son. Most players move him down the hatred list once they realize he is just a broken kid trying to prove he is worth something, even if he still thinks he's the center of the universe. We move now to Shane, the man who redefined the concept of a cold introduction. When you first meet Shane, he will explicitly tell you that he doesn't know you and doesn't care to know you. It is a refreshing bit of honesty in a town of friendly faces, but it is also incredibly rude. Shane's technical role in the game is to represent the darker side of reality, depression and alcoholism. His 6-heart event, where you find him passed out near a cliff, is perhaps the most somber moment in the entire game. The community's hatred for Shane is a complex beast. Many love his redemption arc, where he decides to raise blue chickens and seek counseling, but the hatred often returns post-marriage. If you marry Shane, he brings a room into your house that looks like a crime scene of spilled beer and muddy footprints. It is a visual assault on your farmhouse aesthetic. Furthermore, his dialogue often reverts to mentions of beer, leading many to believe his recovery was a temporary gameplay mechanic rather than a lasting change. He is a man of profound depth, but he is also a man who will ruin your expensive flooring without a second thought. At this point in our presentation, you might be feeling a sense of camaraderie with your fellow farmers. If you find yourself nodding along with these technical assessments, then you are clearly a scholar of the valley. To prove you are a true enthusiast and not just a casual observer of Joja-funded propaganda, you must commit to the channel. Subscribing is the only way to ensure your farm remains profitable and your social standing remains untarnished. It is a small price to pay for this level of expert-level analysis. Now we must discuss Pam, a woman who treats the local saloon like a second home, and her daughter Penny like a personal maid. Pam is a quintessential example of how addiction can create an oppressive atmosphere for those around them. In Penny's 4 Heart event, Pam becomes notoriously aggressive, yelling at her daughter for allowing the player to clean their trailer. She is embarrassed by her living conditions, yet she spends her meager earnings on pale ale and potato juice. The community's distaste for Pam often stems from her treatment of Penny, the town's resident saint. Pam's technical utility increases when the bus is repaired, but even then, she's often hungover and irritable. Even if you spend 500,000 gold to build her a literal house, her 9 Heart event shows her struggling to change her ways. She is trapped in a cycle of self-pity and resentment. Watching her request potato juice in the mail while her daughter struggles to teach the local children is a bitter pill for many players to swallow. She is a realistic depiction of a troubled soul, which makes her all the more frustrating to interact with on a daily basis. Marnie, we shift our focus to a different kind of frustration: technical incompetence. Marnie is a kind-hearted woman, but she is an absolute nightmare of a business owner. Her shop hours are a notorious joke among the community. She's closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, which is fine in theory, but in practice, you will frequently find her staring at her microwave for hours on end while your animals are literally starving in the barn. Entering her shop on a Thursday, only to find her wandering around her kitchen, is a form of psychological warfare that few can endure. Beyond her questionable work ethic, Marnie's personal life is a source of community ire. She allows Mayor Lewis to treat her like a dirty secret, hiding in bushes and keeping their relationship out of the public eye to protect his authority. Most players believe Marnie deserves better, but her refusal to stand up for herself makes her a tragic, often annoying figure. While the version 1.6 update introduced the animal catalog to bypass her absence, the trauma of those starving chickens remains. Marnie is the reason many players learn the hard way that planning ahead is the only way to survive the winter, because you certainly can't rely on her to be at the counter. Demetrius, the condescending scientist. Demetrius is a man of science, and unfortunately he is also a man of immense social blindness. His behavior is often described as pedantic and subtly hostile. The most infamous example of this is the tomato incident. During a 6 Heart event, he argues with his wife, Robin, about whether a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable. He chooses the most obnoxious possible interpretation of her request to prove a logical point, completely ignoring the social context of buying food for dinner. Furthermore, Demetrius exhibits a very troubling dynamic within his own family. He is incredibly protective of his biological daughter, Maru, to the point of threatening the player during her 2 Heart event. Meanwhile, he seemingly ignores his stepson, Sebastian, entirely. He demands Sebastian remove his snow goon while letting Maru keep her snowman. A clear act of parental favoritism. His inability to grasp emotional nuances makes him feel cold and arrogant. While some argue he is simply neurodivergent, many players find his condescension to be an egregious flaw that makes living near the mountain a chore. We now reach Clint, a man whose self-pity is more oppressive than the rocks he breaks. Clint is the town blacksmith, and his technical utility is high, but his personality is a masterclass in nice guy energy. He spends his days complaining about his loneliness and his nights staring at Emily from across the saloon. In his 6 Heart event, he literally hides in a bush to watch her, which is a behavior that borders on the criminal. Clint's refusal to grow as a person is what truly fuels the community's hatred. Even if the player marries Emily, Clint's dialogue doesn't change. He continues to ask for advice on how to win her over, which makes every interaction with him feel like a slow walk through a swamp of awkwardness. He is a man who was forced into his father's profession and hates his life, yet he does nothing to change it. Instead, he expects the world to hand him a romantic reward for simply existing. He is the quintessential example of why low self-esteem is not an excuse for being a creep. The corrupt official, Lewis, has been the mayor of Pelican Town for 20 years, and in that time, he has managed to accomplish almost nothing of value for the infrastructure. When you arrive, the town is in shambles. The bus is broken, the bridge is out, and the community center is a literal ruin. Where is the tax money going? The answer is likely the solid gold Lewis statue that he hides behind his house. This is a level of embezzlement that would make a corporate executive blush. Lewis's moral failings extend to his personal life as well. His relationship with Marnie is a secret not because of any real scandal, but because he is obsessed with his own image. He values his prestige more than her happiness. Finding his lucky purple shorts in her bedroom is a funny moment for the player. But it is also definitive proof of his hypocrisy. He demands the player act as a pillar of the community while he hides in the bushes to avoid being seen with the woman he supposedly loves. He is a man of vanity and secrets, a true politician in the worst sense of the word. Morris is the designated antagonist of Stardew Valley, a man who represents the soul-crushing corporate machine you tried to escape. His crimes are numerous and public. He enters Pierre's shop specifically to hand out 50% off coupons to poach customers, an act of aggressive capitalism that is genuinely jarring in a peaceful town. He doesn't care about the community. He only cares about Joja Corporation's bottom line. Morris has no friends, no hobbies, and no redeeming qualities. He is a caricature of corporate greed. While some players appreciate the convenience of Joja Mart's late hours and Wednesday openings, it is a convenience bought with the blood of small-town charm. Morris is the only character in the game who can be physically punched out of the atmosphere during the community center completion, a moment that provides more catharsis than 100 harvests. He is the villain we love to hate because he is the literal embodiment of why we left the city in the first place, the true master of deceit. Finally, we reach the summit of our hatred. Pierre. While Morris is a villain you can see coming, Pierre is a snake in the grass. Pierre's list of crimes is long and egregious. If you sell him high-quality crops, he tells the villagers that he grew them himself. If the crops are low quality, he makes sure everyone knows they came from your farm. This level of professional betrayal is a psychological wound that never truly heals. Pierre is obsessed with money to the point of neglecting his family. During every festival, he is stuck behind a booth trying to make a profit while his wife and daughter are off enjoying themselves. He even admits to suspecting that Abigail might not be his biological daughter, yet he does nothing to improve his relationship with her. He adopts the same greedy tactics he claims to hate in Joja Mart, marking up prices and hiding a secret stash from his wife. There is an entire subreddit with tens of thousands of members dedicated specifically to hating this man. He is dishonest, greedy, and a credit-stealing charlatan. Pierre is not just a bad neighbor. He is a warning that sometimes the person you're trying to save from corporate greed is actually just a smaller, pettier version of the same thing. I hope this presentation has been enlightening. You now have the technical data required to fuel your resentment for years to come. Dealing with these people is a heavy burden, but at least you have your farm to retreat to. Thanks for watching and subscribe.